Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I wanted to come in for a second and share something that was on my mind today. It had to do with a question somebody asked me. There was a person I know who they pointed out, the fact that I married my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, and in case you don't know, she is the love of my life. I mean, I think she's an awesome woman, and I'm very happy to be married to her. I'm very honored. And she happens to be a relationship therapist, and we've done lots of corny things like gone around the world and and taking corny pictures like this, standing next to Chinese statues. These are pictures of when we were in Guilin. Guilin, I think, is in southern China, and kind of like the Florida of China. I gotta go find it on the map, and we just do corny stuff like that, right? And I'd never done that before, but I did it with my wife because my wife was the person that I wanted to do corny things with. And so sometimes I'll get questions, right? I'll get questions about, what made you choose to get married to this person, and what made you choose to get married at this time, things like that. And I thought about it, right? I thought about it, and my wife is the couples counselor, right? She's the one who sees couples and talks about relationships with couples, and she has the licenses, and she's a full professor of social work. So I'm going to say for sure before I even begin that this is a Uncle Boyce perspective. This is simply one black man's point of view. It is not definitive on any level, but it is here to share for anybody that wants insight into maybe some things I've observed with some of this. So, is it okay? Give me a yes in the chat if it's okay for me to jump into Uncle Boyce mode and share a quick point of view on marriage. And the question that I was asked was, how do you know if a man's ready for marriage? So let me know if it's okay for me to talk about it. Hey, Precious Lewis, Angry Jenkins, Amari Robinson, AA, Miriam Herndon. See, Angry Jenkins already says marriage is a scam. I totally understand. I totally hear you. All right, so let me give you this point of view. This is a perspective. Take it with a grain of salt. So here's the deal. Here's one thing I think a lot of people don't seem to get, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not under the assumption that everybody wants to get married. Let me just tell you this. Let me just tell you before you ever tie the knot, just know marriage takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience. You have a lot of days where you are gonna deal with all kinds of crap. That yeah, thank you, babe. You can put the yeah, I'm talking on live.
You're live.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but there are little benefits. Like she just bought me a salad, and I need to eat salad because I don't need to eat that food that's gonna kill me. So a good wife will keep you alive. Like that's one good thing about a spouse, and it's somebody that's kind of there, for you in certain ways. But one of the things I kind of want to share on this perspective is something that I think some people may not yet understand. And I'm under the assumption I'm really talking to people that maybe enter relationships and they're thinking about one day getting married, or they feel like that's the path they'd like to take. One of the things you have to understand, I think, especially for ladies that are lining up with dudes, is not every man wants to marry you, right? Some men just don't want to do it, and some women don't want to do it, right? Some people, how about people? We're not going to make it gender specific, but some people just um don't want to marry you. They just don't want to marry anybody. Like, some people can't marry another person. They can't do monogamy. They can't do um the sacrifices necessary to be married. And I'm not making fun of those people. I kid you not. If you're one of those people, I am not in any way criticizing your choice. I am not on any level telling you like, oh man, what's wrong with you? You need to get married like me. No, no, no. You understand. In fact, if I talk down on you, I'm really talking down on myself. Because remember, I didn't get married at 20. I didn't get married at 30. I didn't even get married at 40. I was almost 50 by the time I got married. That's because I waited until I was ready. I did not let anybody tell me what to do. Right? I waited until I met somebody that I felt was worth that level of sacrifice, that much work. And one of the things I've noticed is I think sometimes like we live in this world where everybody's chasing like fast money, fast sex. Sex has become cheap. Sex is everywhere. Everybody's offering sex. It's kind of interesting to observe. And sex is like they selling pussy by the pound at the grocery store. Like seriously, like it used to be $4.99 a pound. Now I think it's $1.98 a pound. Like seriously, they're literally selling vagina by the pound at the grocery store. And and one of the things that that I've observed is that some people think sex is kind of that driving force that creates lasting relationships. And I can't speak for everybody, right? And I can't sit here and say that sex is not important. It's very important, but it's everywhere. Like it's easy, like there's. Do you understand? And maybe again, my experience is a little bit skewed because I'm gonna tell you the truth. When you're a little bit famous and you have a little bit of money, the women don't stop coming. There's like always, you're always a good catch for somebody, right? But it's not a differentiator. It's just not a differentiator. It's like it's almost like in economics. You guys know my PhD is in finance, which is similar to which is the cousin of economics. And there are different ways you price assets in the market. There are some assets that where price differentiation can make a difference. Then there's some assets that are just commodities, and commodities are things that are just very common. Um, you can't necessarily compete as easily with a commodity. There's nothing special about a commodity. Like if I sell you an orange or an apple or a barrel of oil, it's just like all the other millions of barrels of oil out here. It's like just like all the other apples out here. Like I could say, like, well, this is a special apple, and this apple is $1.99, and that other apple was $2. You save a penny on my apples. It's kind of hard for me to really get your loyalty by selling you a slightly cheaper, slightly better apple. Because apples are everywhere. Like apples, there's nothing scarce about an apple. An apple is not a diamond. An apple is not Bloomingdale's. An apple is just a simple commodity. Well, the same thing might be true with sex. You know, sex is just a simple commodity. Some people might have the level 7 sex. Some people have the level 8, level 9. You got some level 10s out here. Congratulations if you're in that category. And that does mean something for a little while, but I don't think that that is what creates a lasting relationship. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, I bring that up because when you're kind of in the dating space, I've noticed that there are people that have different objectives. And let me explain it with an example. 20 years ago, I dated this really awesome lady that I really liked. And again, she had, we talk about the apples. She had the best apples out here, right? She had the best, she was in the bedroom. She could have been a porn star. She could have been a, professional at it. She was so good. Right. And most of the ladies who are the best are usually not, they don't brag about it. They just show you, something special when you get, when you earn the right to see all that. But I had to break up with her, right? I broke up with her after maybe less than a year of dating her. Smart lady, very nice, all this other stuff. And she was really kind of distressed. She was like, God, why, like what? I thought we had a good thing going. Like, why would you break up with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And I said, nothing's wrong with you. And she's like, are you not attracted to me? Like, and I said, no, I'm very attracted to you. She said, well, why would you end our relationship? And I said, well, it's because I feel like you want to get married and I don't want to marry you. In fact, I don't. It's not that I don't. And she's like, well, why don't you want to marry me? Or, like, what's wrong with me? And I said, it's not, there's nothing wrong with you. I just don't want to marry anybody. And I feel guilty wasting your time when you could be with someone that actually wants to give you what you want. Right. And it wasn't until years later that I realized that most people are not that brutally honest. Most people are not, because I really remember thinking, God, this girl thinks I hate her. She thinks I don't like her. She thinks I'm not attracted to her. And none of that couldn't have been further from the truth. I just didn't want to get married at that time to anyone. I could have met my wife at that time and I wouldn't have married her because I wasn't ready to marry nobody. Right. And I think that people don't process that enough. And again, you guys know this platform's kind of specialized. Like I really like to specialize in intelligent Black people because I like to have deep conversations with you about issues in a way where we can get insights into stuff. And I really think that in dating, you don't have enough discussions like that. Like I think that there's this weird assumption that like if we're together long enough and everything goes well, then eventually there'll be some sort of permanent commitment. Like you work for almost like working for a company and you expect that if you do a good job, they'll give you a promotion. Well, sometimes they don't give you the promotion because there's no promotion available. They have no plans to bring you into upper management. You're great in the mailroom. Like they're really happy that you're working in the cafeteria, right? You're the best cafeteria person they've ever had, but you'll never be the CEO. You'll never be the brand manager. You'll never get a chance to be, in the boardroom, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Like so sometimes I think that we will bark up a tree where there's nothing to bark up at. Right. We're waiting for something that isn't ever going to exist. And I think that again, this is really me speaking to anybody who is more traditional in terms of thinking, okay, if we get together and if it works out, eventually we can get married. I'm encouraging you to make sure that you make sure that that position is even available before you even try to apply for it, right? And because here's the other thing, here's the other complexity of all this, right? A lot of times people don't even tell you the truth about whether the position is really available, right? It doesn't. They may either lie to you about it or they may not even know themselves, right? So like, and I'm really speaking. It's kind of a gender specific discussion, more so for women that are trying to understand men. I imagine men go through the same thing, but I've seen it more so with women, where you might have a guy, right? And let's say as a woman you meet this guy, right, and you're like, okay, he's a good catch, he's smart, he's a guy that I can see as my husband, but we got to work our way up to that status, right? So I'm gonna be nice to him, I'm gonna drop it on him, I'm gonna give him the best sex ever, I'm gonna get like it's easy to get a wife. It's easy for a man to get a wife without being a husband. It's very easy to get a wife without being a husband. I hope that makes sense, because a lot of women are so good at being girlfriends that they give you every single thing, damn near, or it feels like you're getting damn near everything that a wife gives, except you don't have the commitment, right? And now, obviously, as a married man, I can say that there is a difference. There is a higher level of intimacy that does occur in a marriage that's a little deeper than the girlfriend boyfriend thing. But in terms of the good stuff, like somebody cooking for you, somebody being there for you if you get sick, somebody just giving you the best, putang that ever existed. Like you get all of that, right? You can get that pretty easily again because it's the market's kind of shifted, right? The world has changed. And so what I have found is that people, if you're giving somebody all the good stuff, right? And the all, like the cow, you have the cow and the milk is free, and then you say, but one day I expect you to pay for the milk. A lot of people are not gonna do that. They're gonna be like, why would I pay for something that I already own? Right? Why would I pay for something I already have? Now I'm not saying hold back. I'm not saying hold it, like stop doing what you're doing. What I'm saying is maybe a little more discernment about who you do it for might be the objective. Now, in an ideal world, the perfect man, in my view, when it comes to figuring out who's ready for marriage and who's not, the ideal man is the man who will simply tell you the truth, who will simply, he because he knows himself and he is willing to share what he knows, right? So that's two levels of truth, right? Because sometimes people lie to you because even they don't even know they're lying, right? Like a guy says, yeah, I might get married, but I'm just waiting for the right one. I'm just waiting for the one. But you done dated 47 women, like, you ain't met the one yet. That's a pretty high bar to raise. I mean, if you want to take that chance, then maybe you can beat 47 candidates for a position, then go for it. But if somebody has dated 30, 40, 50 people and they say that they're still looking for the one, that probably means that the standard is so high that nobody can meet that standard. Right. So like imagine if you tried to apply for a job and 47 people all paid money to fill out the job application and all 47 of those people were not hired. Would you apply for a job like that? Would you even think you were going to get that job? Seriously, would you think you're going to get it? No, you wouldn't. Right. So here's where I'm going with this. And Mike says, dude rambling like some female. Get to the point, bro. See, that was a disrespectful statement, Mike. I don't know why you would say something so mean, but Mike is probably obviously Mike's not smart enough to be here. So Mike, you should probably go because I love to drill the point home. I love to discuss the nuances. So sorry if my communication style does not fit your attention span. So God bless you. Anyway, so here's the deal. Here's what I'm trying to explain. People will lie to you not because they not because they are really trying to lie to you. Sometimes they'll lie to you because they don't even know what the truth is themselves. So if you're dating a man and you're thinking, gosh, I hope this one day leads to a commitment, right? Let's say you're dating a guy that has some money and he's a good person and you want to have kids with him and all that. So you're hoping for this big commitment one day. Some men just aren't ready, like for anyone. And they're not even, and sometimes they don't even know that they're not ready. That's the thing. They don't even know that they're not ready. Right? They like so if you say to them, like, hey, just tell me the truth. If you do you plan on marrying me one day or not? Do you plan on getting married one day or not? If you are offering a man the best vagina on the planet, and he knows that telling you the truth is gonna cause you to take away the thing that he's happy to receive, and he could just kind of wait it out for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and waste your prime reproductive years doing that. A lot of guys are gonna do that. Like they and they may not even do it on purpose. Some guys may do it, you know, deliberately just to be selfish. And there are people out there like that. But then there are some people who may do it because they really are thinking about it. They really are like, yeah, maybe one day I'll be ready for marriage. But you gotta understand, like when a woman hits about 29 or 30, like her sex drive goes way up, and the reason her sex drive goes up is not because she's something's wrong with her. It's because her body is saying, okay, we need to have a baby. Come on now, come on now, come on now, we need to go ahead and get pregnant with somebody, right? So you have these different guys that come into your life, and women just don't have, and it probably sounds sexist to say it, I don't know, but women don't have the same amount of time as men. We can pretend, but you can't fake out mother nature. Like there is a breeding um, process that has to occur before a certain time. So I've seen guys. Let's give you an example. And I'm not attacking anybody's dating style. I promise you, I'm not. If whatever category you're in, please don't think I'm judging you. But I've seen guys that are like the if you're let me just say this. I'll use myself as an example, so it doesn't seem like I'm attacking anybody. When I was 32 years old, I made $115,000 a year. I was a single black man that made six figures. And according to Kevin Samuels, that would have made me a high value man, right? And I was a nice person. I wasn't out harming anybody. I was just looking for nice women to meet. And there were women out there throwing all kinds of things at me, right? And and the thing about it is I had time. I had plenty of time. I was 32. I didn't get married till I was 48. Right? So I had 16 years of living my life before I had to like do the whole settle down thing. Now, it doesn't mean I couldn't have done that as a woman, but if my goal was to like get together with somebody and have children, that strategy wouldn't have worked for me. And so, to me, if you are in your 30s and you're dating, you have to have a process to discern which men are going to be capable of giving you the commitment level you desire. And a lot of times they're not even going to be able to tell you. Like ideally, they'll just tell you, like, yeah, I definitely want to get married to you, or no, I definitely don't. And then you can decide what to do. Most people won't do that. Most people will say, I don't know, let me think about it, stop putting pressure on me, etc. So I would encourage you to sort of consider various factors that might tell you if that man is ever going to be willing to make a commitment for marriage. Let me tell you a little something about marriage, what I've learned, because I haven't been married that long, but shit, it takes a lot of work. Marriage takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline that a man or a woman will only commit to if they really see the value in being married and connected with another person on that level. If a person never even grew up seeing a healthy marriage, if you ask somebody about their parents and their parents were never married, I think that should be a strike. Not to say that they're a bad person, but one of the things that makes me committed to being a husband is I saw my father being a husband. Like I saw my father. My father talks to me every time I see him. He talks to me about husband shit and things you have to do, times you must submit to your wife, times where you got to learn how to deal with an argument in a certain way. Like my father taught me to be married. If I had not seen that as a young man, I probably wouldn't have I probably wouldn't have done it. I would probably look at it the way a lot of people look at it. A lot of people look at marriage as like that's bullshit. Like why would I do that? Like why I gotta be monogamous and I gotta do what somebody tells me and I gotta pay all these bills, right? So ultimately marriage is like a value system a person has. Like if they don't value marriage, then they're not gonna do it. Like think about it. Give me a yes or no. Would you pay lots of money and time and energy acquiring an asset that you do not value? If you don't value something, are you willing to sacrifice to obtain it? Like if somebody said, I want you to go to the Sahara Desert, starve to death, and dig, 80 meters under the ground to, to pick up a pile of shit. Like, would you do that? Would you go and put out a lot of effort and energy to obtain something that you do not value? Yes or no? No, you wouldn't. So a person that really is willing to do the work required to be married to another person has to be a person that values marriage. People that tend to value marriage are people that were raised in a culture where marriage was seen as valuable. If you're with a person who has never seen a healthy marriage and never seen all the hard work required to make a marriage work, if they say, yeah, I think I want to get married, and they show no evidence whatsoever that they have the ability to make long-term commitments, you might be wasting your time. Commitment requires lots of discipline. It just does. It just does. So it doesn't mean that somebody has to be written off if their parents if they were raised by a single mom or something. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not putting anybody down, right? But I'd be like, okay, so tell me about your last job. Like, you got to look for some evidence that they have the ability to make lasting commitments. Okay, if you had a job, did you have the job 8 years, or did you have the job 8 months? What were your last three relationships like? If they were all 6 months apiece, that kind of tells you that there's a mechanism there where they view relationships in a certain context. It doesn't mean I'm right. I'm not saying I'm right all the time. I'm saying that these are things I actually look at when I look to hire people for my team. When I hire people for my team, I look at I don't care if they have a degree or not. I look for skill. I look for professionalism, and I also look for the ability to have long-term commitments. If the last thing you did was 8 years or 10 years, that tells me that you're a person who can stick to things, right? Like one of my number one people that I work with, my senior producer, is a person who had a boyfriend for 14 years. That tells me that once she gets into something, she sticks with it. And I'll be damned if she hasn't been working with me for years. Because that means, because people who have that mindset are people where you can go through the ups and downs, you can have a big fight, people can be pissed off, triggered, have the feelings hurt, but yet you still come back to the table because that's just where you live, right? So that to me is a sign of the ability to make a commitment. Same thing could apply if you're talking about somebody you want to start a business with. Show me some other example in your life where you have seen an example of a long-term commitment. Did you go through 8 years of medical school? That people like that tend to have the ability to commit. I talked to a young kid the other day who's just graduating from college, and I said, "Yeah, being a college graduate shows that you can stick to something for 4 years. That's impressive. That impresses me more than what your GPA was." So that's the other thing. So the next thing I would say, and I'm not going to talk too long on this, but I want to keep going. I hope I got the point across. The other piece is, I would also understand, like, men that are ready to get married tend to be men who either A, have shown the ability to commit, or have seen a commitment, or B, also another factor is, where are they economically? you know, Getting married was easier for me when I had plenty of money and money was not an issue. I don't care what anybody says. There is pressure when you are the head of a family. I personally had a value system that said I want to be the head of a family. That to me is what manhood looks like. I also had seen what a commitment looks like and the sacrifices that are necessary. And then lastly, my economic situation had to be at a certain level for me to be ready. If I were struggling to pay my own bills, I do not want the pressure of having to pay bills for somebody else. Right now, it doesn't mean that you have to have money to be married. It doesn't mean poor people can't get married and actually do it right. I'm just saying that generally speaking, if you're dealing with a man who is flip floppy economically and he's struggling and he's arguing with you over who's gonna pay the tab at Wendy's, or whatever the hell y'all just did, like, that's not typically, in my view, a guy who's gonna be ready for, like, the hard work of being a husband and being a father, right? I think the last piece is, understanding that there are different kinds of men, like, and I see a lot of different male personalities, particularly since I engage with so many men online, and I respect my brothers a lot. I have a certain standard. Some guys get mad at me for it, but I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. But what I've noticed is that, based on culture, age, education level, income level, you get different manifestations of manhood. Also, you have some men who may not be able to ever just commit, just because maybe some men have a lot of people have sex addictions. They have stuff like porn out here that's like, again, sex is cheap, it's everywhere. So some people can't even fathom the idea of trying to do monogamy. Some people don't want responsibility. I value responsibility, that's why I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it because responsibility is fun. Responsibility is hard. It's hard being in charge of a woman and a bunch of kids. But I like that because it makes me feel good. It's like, yeah, I'm the king. This is my castle. Look at me. Look at me. But that's my image of manhood. Where some men have an image of manhood that is, look at all the women. I look at all my bitches and I get in all the sex and whatever. And that's maybe something, now I will say that the age also matters too, right? So a guy in his 20s or maybe his 30s might be in that first zone, whereas maybe the guy in his 30s or 40s or 50s might be in the second zone, where he says, you know what, I've had the chance to be wanted by women. I know what it's like. Like, I can literally completely in my head visualize what my life would look like if I had a lot of women around, right? Because I've had that before. I've had that offered to me. I've seen it up close. I've experienced things, right? And like life, you live life. And so what had to occur, at least for me, was I had to get to the point where I could see family as being a positive alternative to that, where I actually start looking at that other life, that free and easy life, where you're kind of going around doing whatever you want. And I actually see the downsides of that, right? I see the traps of that. I see babies, mamas, and drama, and STDs, and chaos, right? And and typically, in my view, again, I can't speak for every man, but in my view, when men get to the point where they're really trying to build something, like they're really trying to build like an empire and a family and all that, they want structure. They want structure. Like, I would use an example of like mafia gangsters. Like mafia gangsters, you know, like they can run up and kill people. They can run up and do whatever they want. They can just act a fool and whatever. But typically the bosses are more stable. The bosses are like, no, we're not trying to go out here and cause drama. We're not trying to start a war, even though we could probably win the war, but we don't want to go to war, right? We want structure. We want stability. We want something that is an institution. So what I would say at the end of the day, um, women that are looking for a certain outcome in a relationship, like if you're looking for commitment, I encourage you to get really good at understanding what a man looks like when he's going to be ready for commitment. And then at that point, maybe give him a year and a half. I think at some point within the first year and a half, if you're putting your best foot forward, like you're working on yourself, you're making sure that like, and I would learn, like, if you're trying to be a wife, like, learn from the wives out here. Like, don't learn from the hoes. The hoes can teach you how to be hoes, right? But the wives can teach you how to be wives. Hoes and wives are not the same, right? Don't get me wrong. The wives have all the skills that the hoes have, but the hoes don't have the certain skills that the wives have. The wives have skills hoes don't have, right? But the wives know when the hoes are doing whatever hoes do. Like, wives understand that. Wives understand that probably better than anyone else. Like, literally, men who've experienced life a little bit know that, like that woman who's kind of like figured out how to make a man happy in all our little weird little ways. Those women actually are the best when it comes to almost everything. You know, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be too graphic here, but seriously, like they know, like the hoes are like, okay, let me show my booty and let me like give him some good sex or whatever, and I can get a Gucci bag, right? Whereas the wives can see through all of that and they understand like a different level of womanhood that transcends the superficial and the lower vibrational generic nonsense, the commodification of womanhood that's out here. Remember, your goal in a marketplace, and dating is a marketplace. Remember, I'm an economist, so I see markets everywhere. Your goal in a marketplace is not to be a commodity. When you're a commodity, you're cheap. Commodities are easily replaceable. If I'm selling apples or barrels of oil, I can easily replace that. It's very hard to differentiate if you're just a commodity. But when you become special, unique, and different, that's when you go to that higher level, those higher dimensions of womanhood. That's when you get that, what I call that Felicia Rashad persona, right? If you remember Felicia Rashad, her character Claire Huxtable on the Cosby Show, I know she was fictional, but she presented this kind of womanhood where she's every bit as attractive as any hoe on the street, right? There's no street woman that's prettier than Felicia. Like, she was gorgeous, right? And very sexy and all these other things, but she possessed so many other things that really encapsulate the magic of womanhood, right? Like I gave life to these people and I run this household like a black mother and I can cook for everybody and I'm giving life to everybody else. Like that's like a specialness that a wife carries that makes you say, that's my wife. Like, okay, the hoes are always out there. We know what's out there. We know what the commodities look like, but none of the commodities can ever compete with this thing that's in front of me right now. Like this person that's in front of me right now. Like she's special. She's almost like a goddess in your eyes. And I encourage you, ladies, like if you find a man that sees you in that light, that really can identify your specialness in that really meaningful way where you can't be replaced by anything or anyone on this planet, that's a guy you probably want to marry, in my opinion. I don't really think you want to marry like sometimes we just chase after the best looking person we can find or the best so-called catch, or we base our attraction to other people on how we feel about what they possess, right? We base it on what they look like or how much money they have or whatever, right? But I actually gauge a lot of my attraction to my wife, not just on how I feel about her, but I gauge a lot of it on how she feels about me. Right. The fact that she feels that I am like the greatest fucking thing since sliced bread makes me love her that much more, right? Whereas I've noticed some people do it the opposite. Sometimes the more somebody likes you, the less you like them because they're not a challenge anymore. You know what I'm talking about? Like you have some people that do that. I think that's a less mature way of looking at relationships. Because here's the thing, like I feel like I'm special. I know that I'm special, right? And the fact that you know that I'm special makes me respect you more. And that makes me want to invest in you more because I know I'm going to get that back. Whereas if I think you're special and you think I'm a loser, then that means I'm going to pour into you and you're going to pour nothing back into me. I'm going to pour into you and you're going to drain from me. Those are very unhealthy, unhappy, toxic relationships. You have no bargaining power in relationships like that where you're chasing somebody who doesn't really want you. Like that is a horrible situation to be in because you can't negotiate shit. If you ever take a stand on any issue, they're going to dump you. They're going to run away. They're going to walk away because they're going to be like, well, I got to deal with your raggedy ass. I can replace you in a minute because in their mind, you're a commodity. You can be replaced with a phone call. What you want, ladies, in my view, this is Uncle Boyce. This is me talking, right? You can take it or leave it. It's totally cool. And I'm not judging anybody. But I'm telling you, that man that really adores you is the man who will fucking move a mountain to be next to you. Like he will walk 85 miles just to give you a kiss on the cheek. Like he will kick anybody's ass to defend you. Like he will be honored to be next to you. And I can say that. And I can say just in general, like I feel that way about my wife. Like my wife is like, it's like, holy shit, I'm married to this lady. Oh my God. So it's kind of one of those things where I just encourage you, like, look for those things. Like when you're looking at a man, don't just pick a dude because he's fine. Like, does he think you're fine? Like, is he really into you? Also, again, the commitment thing. Commitment is a culture, right? I'm not dissing anybody that doesn't want commitment. I totally understand. I totally get it. Because like in other areas of my life, I don't commit to things, right? Because I don't want the pressure of the commitment, right? So in some areas I don't commit to anything, right? Like if you say, "Hey boys, can we have a meeting, next week?" I'll be like, "I don't know, let me think about it," right? So commitment is hard, right? So there has to be a culture, there has to be a value system that says that I want to commit to this thing. And here's why, right? So typically the men that are ready to be married, in my view, tend to be men who have a value system that says a committed man is a better man. A man who leads a household is a real man, and it takes time to get to that point. Also, there has to be signs that he's gonna be ready to move forward. I would give him a year and a half to show you some sign that he's gonna move forward. Don't pay attention to the words, pay attention to the actions. Like it's got to be about the actions, because here's the thing, you're offering him some real good special secret sauce that only women have. You offering him all that black girl magic, if you know what I'm talking about. And I'm sorry, but people will lie to protect their instant gratification, right? So if it's a matter of telling you what you want to hear, just to get you to do what he wants you to do in that moment, a lot of people will just do that. I'll tell you the story, then I'm going to be done because my wife made me a salad. And I'm going to go eat it because she makes really good salad. Um, I remember there was this guy, right? Like 20 years ago, I knew this dude who was like really obese and very unattractive. But for some reason, he had all the girls, like all the women loved him. And we were just like, how the hell do you get all these women if looking the way you look? And you know what he said? I kid you not. I'm sharing the story because I think it's there's a lesson here. He said, "Oh, it's easy, man." He said, "All you gotta do is sell a hoe a dream." He said, "Just sell a hoe a dream. Just tell them what they want to hear. sell them the idea that they might get something that they're aiming to get, like a commitment or whatever, and then they'll just do whatever you say, right? And so what I would just say to you is be careful of people that are selling you dreams. um I would rather hang out with people that offer me reality, right? And the thing about it is that this requires you to look at people's actions, not just their words. Words mean nothing if the actions are not consistent with the language. So I hope that this was a helpful conversation. For some reason, I felt the urge to share this. I know some people may take it the wrong way. My goal is not to insult anybody. Again, if you're choosing not to get married, I am not blaming you. Believe me, it is hard work. You have to value it. It's almost like if somebody goes to Harvard Medical School, they totally understand why somebody wouldn't want to go to Harvard Medical School, right? Medical school is hard. It takes a lot of work. But Harvard identifies people that are willing to make the commitment. They tend to be people who are ready for the sacrifice, who really want to be there. They don't want people who don't want to be there. So the same thing is true about marriage. Marriage is harder than getting through Harvard Medical School. So if you're choosing somebody that you want to allow into your medical school, you need to find people who really want to be there. Don't bring people in that you forced into the school. Don't bring people in who haven't shown the ability to actually graduate. And some of y'all out here dating these dudes that ain't ready to graduate from shit. And the reality is that it's not totally their fault that they're wasting your time. Part of that has to fall on you, because people are always going to say whatever they have to say to keep the sex coming. I don't care who it is. That's just what people do. All right. So anyway, that's it. I hope this was helpful to some of you. I'm going to get out of here. Lisa Henry says, this is such a great talk. Thank you for taking the time to give women the truth. I'm glad I could help, Lisa. I just thought about it and it just came to mind. So I thought I'd share it to anybody that was listening. And I hope this helps you. And if this conversation offended you in any way, first thing you should know is I don't care. But then number two, I am totally not here to judge you, and I just want you to know that. So live your life, be happy, find your bliss, find your peace, and it's out there. But you got to know how to look for it. All right. So have a good day and take care. And by the way, if you want to go to boycewatkins.com, we got some interesting stuff going on in the Black Business School this week. So feel free to go there and take a look. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Peace.